Haber Merkezi adına iyi akşamlar diliyoruz sevgili seyirciler.
Hello from a special program by TRT News Center. We will be on your TV during this week with a special program. In the program, we will enlighten an important period of time. Every year, when the date approaches to April the 24th, an unsettled issue is put on the world agenda. Armenians are striving for the international recognition of the so-called Armenian genocide allegations. These so-called genocide allegations are used as leverage against Turkey. When we look at the past, we see that these Armenians were successful in their efforts. Many countries' parliaments recognized the so-called genocide allegations as a result of these efforts. Now, the Armenian diaspora is trying to persuade the European Union authorities to consider the so-called genocide allegations as a prerequisite for Turkey's membership. On the other hand, Turkey took a serious step forward with the strongest arguments ever before. This initiative is backed by government, opposition, and civil society organizations. In this program, starting from the historical process, we are going to convey the truth concerning all dimensions of Armenian issue. How is the Armenian issue, or the so-called genocide that Turkey faces as an increasing problem in international arena, introduced as a current question? For the answer, we will go back to the years of the First World War, and we will witness how the Armenian issue became a problem of today.
The most important project of the Western states before and during the war was to disintegrate the Ottoman Empire and share its territory. In order to reach the same, Western powers resorted to every possible way. One of them was the provocation of the Armenians by making promise to found an Armenian state. Plans were prepared and implemented in a short time, and some of the Armenians living within the Ottoman borders peacefully with the Turks for 6 centuries became Russia's enemies.
I would like to state that the motive of the Western world was their own benefits, especially the economic benefits. In order to secure their order in the region, they deceived Armenians and benefited from this situation.
In fact, during centuries, Armenians were appreciated more than any other minority within the Ottoman Empire for their expertise in handicraft, trade, and their loyalty to the state. Even the Armenians were called loyal citizens.
O kadar iç içe girilmiş ki Osmanlılar onlara çok güveniyorlar.
Armenians were active in every field of life. They were diplomats, statesmen, or even grand vizier. They were even working at translation offices where trust is a prerequisite in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The society was integrated.
Yani o kadar iç içe toplum.
In fact, it took a long time to harm the Turkish-Armenian relations. The friendship and good relations between Turks and Armenians started deteriorating at the beginning of the 19th century. The increasing hatred and hostility with the missionary activities supported by the Western countries in Russia at the beginning of the 19th century resulted in the merciless Armenian armed bandits attacking Turkish people at the end of the century. Although the Armenian armed bandits like the Dashnaks, Hunchaks, and Ramgavar, backed by Russia and the Western countries, were dismantled, they were recognized by other countries. The First World War period was the time when the Armenian violence reached its peak. While the Ottomans were waging a very vital war in Gallipoli and the Caucasus front, they also had to suppress the Armenian rebellions in Adana and in eastern Anatolia. French, Russian and English roles in these rebellions were very great. The enemy was again cooperating with the Armenians to undermine the Ottomans' power. While the violence within the Ottoman borders continued, the rebel leaders committed themselves to propaganda activities in various countries to mislead the public by showing the bloody violence as a struggle of independence. The most popular propaganda statement was a complete lie. Christians were massacred. An eminent historian in that time, Arnold Toynbee, wrote the Blue Book, which is attributed even today as evidence of the unfounded allegations. Its aim was to create public opinion in the United States that would force the United States to join the war. The common point in these allegations was the so-called massacre of the Armenians by Turks. The Blue Book constitutes a book of of lie, but it was so effective that even today it's quoted as an evidence to the allegations.
No books or no allegations in these books are based upon serious sources. They're just based on lie.
The Ottoman army was in a very difficult situation when the propaganda activities in various countries were intensified, and some part of the country was experiencing the violence of the Armenian bandits. The Ottoman army was waging a war on the Caucasus at the Dardanelles front. The Ottoman army authorities arrested and tried the leaders of the rebellious Armenian groups on the 24th of April 1915. But these arrests couldn't prevent the revolt. Most of the Armenians participated in the Russian army, imagining an independent state in mind. Then some of the Armenians continued to fight in French uniforms against Ottomans, and Ottomans decided to put a new plan into practice upon this.
Osmanlı bir süre sonra yeni bir yöntem deneyecekti.
Ottoman authorities enacted a law to prevent the endless Armenian revolt on the 27th of May 1915. The aim of this law was to direct the Armenians to the cities which were outside of the war region, and by this they aimed to end the merciless Armenian violence. The Armenians living in eastern Anatolia and in Adana were relocated in Syria and Lebanon. The population balance between the Turks and the Armenians relocated in Syria and Lebanon was taken into consideration. After this date, Armenians alleged that they had been subjected to genocide during relocation in every opportunity they found. This propaganda continued for 90 years.
Her fırsatta yer değiştirme sırasında soykırıma uğradıklarını iddia ettiler.
Osmanlı Devleti bu nakil kararını aldığı zaman
Upon the relocation law, Ottoman authorities issued a decree ordering the province authorities to protect the Armenians during relocation, and any misuse of duty by Ottoman officers or assailants of bandits to the Armenians would be harshly punished. The decree was issued, and when these kind of events occurred, Ottoman authorities punished the criminal. Even the Ottoman officers who misused their duty were taken to court-martial. So we obviously see that Ottoman authorities had no intention to give harm to Armenians during relocation.
herhangi bir zarar gelmesini istemediğini orada görüyoruz.
Throughout the Ottoman Empire rule, there was neither racism against any ethnic group nor antagonism against different religions. No anti-Armenian campaign was organized either. However, the Armenians revolted against the empire with the support of the Tsardom Russia. Then Ottomans enacted the law that envisaged the relocation of Armenians in the empire territory and let them migrate to south. Because of the wartime situation, some Armenians lost their lives. In official documents, we see that the Ottomans had taken all the necessary precautions. Well, let's imagine the migration of 500,000 people. Of course, some individual unwanted events occurred. The people who gave harm to relocatees were punished. So it's not possible to accuse the Ottomans of genocide.
Soykırımla suçlanması mümkün değil.
The Armenians, most of whom were directed to Lebanon during relocation, moved to many different countries. In the press of the countries which were waging war against Ottomans, there was a strong propaganda alleging a mass massacre in Ottoman territory. For many Armenians, this lie was an opportunity in their life. They uttered the same known lie: "We could hardly save our lives." The Armenians who moved to Western countries under their auspices continued to express the unfounded genocide allegations from that day on.
İşte o günden bugüne yeni ülkelerinde de asılsız soykırım iddialarını sürdürdüler.